The project that we're going to be following over the coming weeks and months is situated on a golf course. It was an old farm steading, and as you can see, this is the approach from just where the clubhouse is down this road, looking down the fairway until you come to where the development started, at least. So these are the farm steadings. Now, in fact, actually, these buildings were in a state of disrepair, and the council required that a full report be carried out to prove that they were, in fact, uneconomic to develop as they were. Councils don't like to knock down existing buildings, so the very fact that you see there's an existing building and you think I'm going to put a much bigger house on here and knock down the smaller house isn't necessarily correct, that you're going to get planning for that. So a report was compiled, and as you can see from these pictures, it was indeed in a very bad state of repair. So having deemed it being uneconomic to repair, planning permission was granted. On this slide here, interesting enough, when you look at that stone that has a date on it, you will find that that was actually incorporated into one of the houses that has now been built. Here is some artist impressions of the three other houses that were built on this development. And we're going to move to some live footage here, which I shot in January and February of this year, showing these houses that have now been erected, and they are pretty much near to completion. Incidentally, I should point out that I'm a bit out of breath in this particular clip, so that's because I just climbed quite a high embankment. This is a development of 4 houses. As you can see, 3 of them are nearing completion, and the 4th house is going to be built from scratch. Situated on a golf course. Now we come to the actual development itself that we are going to be showcasing over the coming months. This is a site plan, and as you'll see, there's 4 houses there. As I've said before, 3 of these houses have already been developed, and in fact 2 of them are now occupied, although there is still some external work going on with the houses. As you will see from the site plan, a couple of the houses have actually quite extensive gardens, and in fact the largest has almost an acre of ground. And you might be wondering, why did we not space these houses out, or why were these houses not spaced out? And it really came down to a planning condition. The planning condition was that they wanted the houses, the new build houses, to basically follow the same footprint as the existing steading that they were replacing. I kind of think it would have been much nicer to have given each of those houses much more space. But nevertheless, that's the condition they imposed, and would only allow the planning to go forward on that basis. And so we are going to be developing probably the smallest of the 4 plots, but nevertheless beautiful house in a stunning location. So when we look at this next visual, which is an artist impression of the house, we can see that it's going to look a beautiful looking house. It's got stone cladding, and this is actual real stone, and quite a lot of artistry going into that, and a larch also facing on the outside. Internally, the house is on the ground floor, has its own living room. It has 1 bedroom downstairs, which has its own ensuite, and which is also the public access bathroom as well. As you will see, that there's an additional door going into the hallway, and then there's a kitchen with a dining area in itself as well. Then finally, on the ground floor, we have the utility room, which is accessible from the outside by the front door and the main hallway inside. And then we go upstairs and there's two further bedrooms. Both again have en suites, the master one having a nice dressing area with plenty of closet or wardrobe space, and a beautifully, or will be a beautifully decked out ensuite bathroom. The movement space around is very good, and there's also a room there that's marked as a linen cupboard. In fact, I'm going to turn that into a home office. So although it won't have its own light, nevertheless it's a good size space, and particularly these days with so many people working from home, and particularly I'm filming this during the COVID-19 crisis or pandemic, and so therefore that's become much further on people's minds. So having a home space to work on, I think, is pretty desirable in new build houses. And so what we're going to do now is to move on to some further live footage that I shot of the site again in January and February of this year.
From the upper floor of the house, this is the view down the fairway that you're going to be able to see. It's fairly central to the golf course and in an absolutely stunning location. Of course, because there's still work going on, the area still has to be tidied up somewhat. Currently, the site has a lot of equipment on it from the build of the other houses. This will of course be removed before we start staking out the ground for the foundations.
In the next video, we're going to show you the site having been cleared and the staking out starting. So please remember to like and share this video and subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video in this series. I look forward to speaking to you then.